The Italian Radio Hour is sponsored by Istituto Mondo Italiano.
Buonasera a tutti, good evening and welcome to the Italian Radio Hour. Io sono Viviana and I would like to welcome back our regular listeners and also welcome any new listeners and anyone listening online through khbradio.com. And also be sure to like us on Instagram and Facebook as well, our YouTube channel, to catch up on any past episodes. E benvenuti ai nostri ascoltatori da tutto il mondo, grazie per essere con noi anche oggi, mentre continuiamo il nostro viaggio per l'Italia e la cultura italiana. On last week's episode, we spoke to Russell Shorto, the author of Small Time, The Story of My Family and the Mob, and Samuele Bozzolla, who shared memories of Luciano Pavarotti, the man and the maestro with us. Tonight we will have a very special episode dedicated to the 30th anniversary of the death of Anti-Mafia Magistrate Giovanni Falcone, killed by the Mafia in a car bombing. But before bringing our very special guest on, let's solve the language trivia of last week. So, what does one imply when using the expression conosco I miei polli? Conoscere I miei polli, or to know your chickens, is something that probably makes no sense to an English speaker, but it's a very common expression in Italian, which shows that you know someone's character very well, maybe also their taste and their personality, and you can predict pretty much how they're going to behave in any situation. So, for instance, lasciamo giocare I ragazzi in salotto? Conosco I miei polli. Se li lasciamo da soli, si metteranno a litigare fra di loro. So, shall we let the kids play in the living room? I know that what my kids are like. If we leave them alone, they'll start fighting among themselves. So, anyway, another little curiosity before changing tune and pace with today's episode. And before bringing on our first guest, and this interview will be both in English and in Italian. A little bit of pubblicità. Parli italiano? Do you want to learn, improve, or master your Italian? Istituto Mondo Italiano can help. Located in the heart of Regent Square, Mondo Italiano offers small group classes and one-on-one private tutoring to help you learn Italian in no time. Visit us online at www.istitutomondoitaliano.org.
Quarter of a century after he was murdered by the mob, top anti-mafia magistrate Giovanni Falcone has been honoured in Italy. It was May the 23rd, 1992, when the judge's car was blown up by a half-ton bomb on a motorway in Sicily. His wife and 3 bodyguards also died. 25 years on, Italian President Sergio Mattarella, whose own brother was killed by the Sicilian Mafia, led a ceremony in Falcone's honour. It was held at the bunker-style courthouse in Palermo, where dozens in the Cosa Nostra crime group were convicted in the late 1980s and early 1990s. That made Judge Falcone a target, and he paid with his life. The anniversary commemorations also marked the killing 25 years ago this July of fellow judge Paolo Borsellino. He too was murdered in a mafia bombing along with 5 policemen. In Italy, both men are considered national heroes.
Okay, so I'm very honored and pleased to have with us Dario Riccobono, directly from Sicily, from Capaci, and he is one of the founding members of the association Addio, Pizzo. Dario, buonasera.
Ciao, buonasera.
Welcome, everyone. So, Dario, you are indeed from the town where the accident, the massacre happened, and I believe you were also a teenager. Can you tell us a little bit what happened on that day? E tu sei proprio della città di Capaci dove è accaduto questo massacro. E ci potresti dire quanti anni avevi e che cosa ti ricordi?
Sì, io avevo solo 13 anni quando nel 92 Cosa Nostra decise di far saltare un pezzo di autostrada per uccidere Giovanni Falcone. Lo ricordo benissimo perché mi trovavo a casa e da casa sentii l'esplosione. e una nuvola di fumo che si sollevava subito dall'autostrada. Il traffico immediatamente fu impazzito, l'autostrada venne chiusa ed era impossibile persino muoversi in paese.
Okay.
Allora non c'era.
Se mi permetti. So
Sì.
Dario was just 13 years old. We're talking about 1992. And so he was actually at home when he heard the explosion that caused the highway 29 to being blown up by Cosa Nostra. And so he heard the explosion. He saw there was a huge smoke, a huge cloud of smoke. Traffic just got absolutely crazy and it became impossible to move around the little town. Prego.
Allora non c'era internet, non c'erano i telefoni cellulari, quindi trovare notizie su ciò che fosse accaduto non era così semplice. E quello che fecero i miei genitori era chiamare col telefono fisso amici e parenti, soprattutto per capire, per accertarsi che tutti stessero bene.
So obviously during those times there was no internet, or at least they didn't have access to internet nor cell phones. So it was very, very hard to get news about what exactly had happened. So his parents started to call around relatives and friends on the fixed line to make sure that everyone was fine. Prego.
Solo tutti rispondevano al telefono, tutti hanno risposto, stavano tutti bene, tranne un mio zio che non rispondeva al telefono ed era solito fare a quell'ora quell'autostrada. Quindi mio padre, per accertarsi che non fosse coinvolto in quello che si pensava essere un incidente, ancora non si sapeva dell'attentato, era recarsi sul posto a piedi per controllare cosa fosse successo. Io lo seguì.
Mm-hmm. So pretty much all the relatives and friends answered that everyone was fine, except for one specific uncle, who at that time was used to drive to be on that highway. So Dario's father, not having any other way of finding out if he was involved in what originally they thought just a big car accident, decided to walk on to the place on the scene, and Dario decided to go with his father.
La scena che mi sono ritrovato davanti era quella scena che ero abituato a vedere nei film americani, nei film di guerra. Un pezzo di autostrada che mancava, come se fosse stata lanciata una bomba dall'alto, alberi estirpati con le radici per aria, macchine accartocciate e ribaltate, un'autostrada che facevo fatica a riconoscere perché per centinaia di metri era ricoperta di terra, e soprattutto tanti poliziotti che si muovevano in giro confusi senza capire bene cosa poter fare.
So the scene that Dario actually had in front of his eyes was the one that you would normally see in a war movie, in an American movie. And so there was a piece of a highway that was missing. And so even the trees, for instance, had come out so you could see the roots. And it was a piece of highway that had a hard time recognizing because of the rebels, and the police force was all going around trying to make sense of what had happened.
Col passare poi dei minuti, delle ore, incominciavo a vedere i volti noti di quei giornalisti che ero abituato a vedere in TV, che facevano delle dirette dal mio paese e continuavano a ripetere il nome del mio paese. Col passare del tempo cominciavamo a realizzare che quella morte, la morte di Falcone, quella strage, sarebbe stata per sempre legata al nome del mio paese. Si chiama infatti la strage di Capaci ed è conosciuta al mondo per questo.
So within minutes and then hours, Dario started to see the faces of very well-known journalists that would report news from his town, Capaci. And so they started also to realize that death, that accident, that car bombing would forever be linked to Capaci. So actually, for anyone looking up this, the massacre of Capaci, that's indeed where the town of Dario always comes up.
A 13 anni sai che esiste la mafia, sai anche che è nel tuo paese, ma vederla con quella violenza, con quella atrocità, con quel modo, è stato qualcosa che ci ha scioccati, una ferita difficile da rimarginare, e quindi col passare del tempo aumentava sempre più la consapevolezza che essere delle persone oneste per bene non era più sufficiente nella nostra terra, bisognava fare qualcosa di più.
So at 13, you are aware that indeed there was mafia, but seeing it in front of your eyes in all its atrocity, it was something that obviously shocked everyone. It was like a wound that was difficult to heal. And over time, you develop the awareness or that just being an honest person was not good enough. E quindi questo vi ha portato, facciamo un pochino un saltino nei tempi, so we're just going to move a little fast forward to when Dario got really active onto this message. Quindi da questa immagine, da questa ferita aperta all'età di 13 anni, quando ti sei dedicato a fare, diciamo, qualcosa contro la mafia?
Noi siamo cresciuti, noi che eravamo giovani negli anni 90, ci chiamano la generazione 92, siamo cresciuti con questo dolore, questa rabbia e anche senso di colpa, perché avevamo capito che queste persone erano morte non perché fossero eroi dotati di superpoteri, ma perché erano state lasciate sole. Quindi bisognava fare un passo avanti. Addiopizzo quindi diventa, parecchi anni dopo, nel 2004, l'occasione per trovare una medicina e curare questa ferita. Addiopizzo ci permette di essere tutti protagonisti.
So in the generation, Dario's generation, and anyone within the 90s, felt this grief, this rage, this sense of guilt, and realized that these people that had died not because they were some sort of superheroes with great powers, but because these people had been left alone in this fight. So fast forward into 2004, he was one of the founding members of this association. It's called Addiopizzo. It became a little bit the medicine to start doing something about it. Tell us a little bit about what Addiopizzo does and how it operates. Spiegaci un pochino come funziona Addiopizzo, chi sono i vostri soci e poi eventualmente parleremo delle varie iniziative.
Sì, Addiopizzo, dicevo appunto, nasce quasi per caso nel 2004 da un adesivo con la scritta "Un intero popolo che paga il pizzo è un popolo senza dignità". Addiopizzo è la prima realtà che capisce che il pizzo non è un problema solo di commercianti e imprenditori che pagano direttamente, ma un tema che tocca anche noi consumatori, noi che quando andiamo a fare la spesa, se compriamo da chi paga il pizzo, questo pizzo sappiamo che verrà pagato con i nostri soldi, quindi siamo noi i principali responsabili, quindi dobbiamo organizzarci e reagire.
So Addiopizzo almost started not really randomly, but because of a sticker that was created, I said that a population of people that pays the pizzo, and we know that pizzo is the way, the protection money, is a people is without any dignity. And so this was not something that was affecting just the stores and the merchants, but also us consumers, because by patronizing businesses that were paying the pizzo, we directly and indirectly would be sponsoring, so to speak, these the mafia activities. Prego.
E quindi capiamo che non possiamo chiedere un atto di coraggio ai commercianti, non possiamo chiedere loro di denunciare se li lasciamo soli, dobbiamo creare una rete a supporto. Quindi raccogliamo firme, sostegno, impegno da parte dei consumatori e poi ci mettiamo alla ricerca dei commercianti che dichiarano di pagare il pizzo o, se lo pagano, vengono fuori e decidono di denunciare. Nasce l'idea della campagna di consumo critico anti-racket.
Okay, so they understand that again, it does take courage for a business owner to come out and denounce, the extortion. So the Addio Pizzo is also there to create a strong network of support, collecting also the signatures from consumers, so that they can then offer the support needed for the small businesses that are declaring themselves as, being subject to the extortion, to come out and indeed support with a critical purchasing, therefore not supporting businesses that do pay the extortion money. So to exercise our power as consumers.
Oggi la realtà è differente rispetto a quando abbiamo cominciato. Oggi è possibile non pagare il pizzo e non subire conseguenze. Oggi la mafia ci teme, ci sono diverse intercettazioni che mostrano come i mafiosi si tengono alla larga dai negozi che hanno aderito a questa campagna di Addiopizzo, perché sanno di trovare gente non disposta a pagare, ma anzi pronta a denunciare.
So the situation right now is very different because now businesses have been empowered not to have to succumb to pay the protection money and without being afraid of repercussions. So the mafia is seeing that indeed there is a strong power against them.
Una cosa che ci tengo a sottolineare è questa, al di là dei tanti risultati importanti che Addiopizzo ha raggiunto, raccolto nel tempo, semplicemente essendo in tanti, non c'era nessuno di noi che era una persona speciale o eroe, appunto. La forza di Addiopizzo è l'essere in rete e l'obiettivo più grande che ha raggiunto Addiopizzo è quello di aver convinto una generazione di persone, di ragazzi, allora quando abbiamo cominciato, che è possibile cambiare le cose, e se è possibile farlo in Sicilia, in una realtà così complicata, è possibile farlo ovunque. E questa è una cosa da tenere bene a mente, visto che ormai le mafie hanno varcato i confini dell'isola, sono ovunque, e quindi è necessario mantenere sempre l'attenzione alta e credere nelle possibilità di cambiamento.
So one point that Dario would like to really underline is that the results that I have achieved over time, again, there is a lot of them. It's not again, they're superheroes, but the main goal that they have achieved is indeed to have convinced and showed generations of youngsters, of young people, that it is indeed possible to change things. And not only in their lands in Sicily. We know that unfortunately the mafia phenomenon has spread and spreads in many different regions and countries in general. But again, these are things that can be done. Quindi da questa quali sono alcuni servizi che offrite, e poi ci sposteremo a parlare degli eventi dei prossimi giorni. So some of the services that Addiopizzo offers.
Noi supportiamo i commercianti, li affianchiamo, li accompagniamo nella denuncia, ci occupiamo appunto di seguirli in tutte le fasi eventualmente del processo, proviamo a spingere i consumatori, fare azione di sensibilizzazione, spingere i consumatori ad acquistare dai commercianti che hanno detto no alla mafia. E abbiamo trovato negli anni grande supporto, grande attenzione anche all'estero, e questa sera questo incontro ne è una testimonianza, una grande visibilità che ci hanno dato i media stranieri. Questo ci ha dato maggiore forza in Sicilia e ci ha permesso anche di portare avanti una nuova idea, che è quello dei viaggi pizzo free.
So the services, so to speak, that they offer to any business that wants to denounce again the extortion is actually fully following them in all the phases, from the legal all the way to trial and so forth. And at the same time, there is also to create awareness in consumers to make the right purchasing decisions, to buy from businesses that do not succumb to the protection money. And also they have seen that there's been a lot of collaboration with visibility overseas. and tonight's program is also a sign of it. And again, this just goes and shows the visibility of the actual strength that this group has. And they have created also a travel, a tour operator that is Addiopizzo Travel, that indeed will organize a discovery or rediscovery of Sicily through, visiting businesses and doing activities that are indeed Pizzo free. Allora, i prossimi giorni saranno molto intensi per te, per il tuo gruppo e per tutte le persone che verranno a Capaci. E se ci puoi un pochino spiegare cosa farete e come saranno i prossimi giorni. So the next few days, indeed, leading to the actual 30th anniversary of the Capaci bombing, Dario and everyone else within the organization are very, very busy organizing a variety of different events. So I have asked Dario to tell us something about what is going to happen the next few days.
Sì, ho l'onore e l'onere di coordinare le iniziative dei prossimi giorni, che per la prima volta vedranno coinvolte 16 associazioni tra Capaci e Isola, quindi non saremo da soli, c'è una rete che si muove e organizzerà dei momenti di sensibilizzazione. Domani sera un dibattito in piazza Capaci, un'intervista a un magistrato e a un giornalista che ha scritto tanto di mafia, per provare ad approfondire, per saperne di più su quello che è successo a Capaci. Sono passati 30 anni, ma ancora non è stata fatta piena luce. Non si sa ancora con chiarezza chi siano i mandanti esterni di quell'attentato.
So Dario has both the honor and the duty to be indeed the organizer and the coordinator of many of the different activities. There are indeed 16 different associations that have joined in for this event. And tomorrow night, the event is going to start with a debate with a magistrate and journalist that has dealt with and written a lot about the mafia and the bombing, to find out a little more about what actually happened, because there is not 100% information about all the details of the event. Mi sbaglio, sono venute anche delle scuole da altre regioni d'Italia a fare questo pellegrinaggio. I believe I've seen on their social that might be some also youngsters in other schools from Italy northern Italy, who have also made their way down to Capaci.
L'evento di sabato, giorno 21, sarà quello più partecipato. Andremo in corteo fino alla collina dove erano piazzati i mafiosi che hanno azionato l'esplosivo, e dove oggi c'è un'enorme scritta No Mafia, e andremo a ridipingere quella scritta che il sole col tempo ha scolorito, come a voler rinnovare il nostro impegno di resistenza antimafia. E con noi ci saranno studenti del nord Italia, un gruppo di adulti che vengono dalla Germania, una delegazione dalla Svizzera e tantissimi studenti, insegnanti, palermitani, gente che arriva da ogni parte della Sicilia. Quindi sarà veramente una festa di recupero, di riappropriazione della nostra terra.
So Saturday, on the 21st, there is going to be this beautiful pilgrimage that is going to culminate on top of the hill of Capaci. That is indeed where the mafiosi were planted and planned this attack. And so it is a little bit of a challenge to get up there, but from what I've seen, definitely the view pays you back for that sacrifice. And this pilgrimage is almost like a gift of a memory, of the event, and to renew the commitment of these activities against the mafia. And one of the things that I will be doing is that will paint again this kind of faded away no mafia writing that is in there. So there will be schools from different parts of Italy, Germany, Switzerland, then lots of students and teachers. Avete per caso adottato poi l'idea che ogni lettera rappresenterà qualche cosa?
Sì.
So
Sì,
I asked
abbiamo...
them, so in a previous conversation with Dario, they were thinking about associating every letter of this no mafia to a key image or a keyword. And I asked if indeed they came up with something.
Viviana, è una scelta che è nata quasi per caso, perché l'ultima volta c'erano tantissime persone che volevano il pennello in mano per dipingere e non potevamo accontentare tutti. E quindi abbiamo deciso di dare un significato a ogni lettera della parola no mafia e scegliere un rappresentante. Quindi la I sta per informazione, la M per magistratura, la A per arte, e quindi abbiamo scelto dei testimonial. La F sta per fotografia e abbiamo scelto la figlia di Letizia Battaglia, una grande fotografa di mafia che è scomparsa poco tempo fa, per renderle un omaggio.
Mm-hmm. So indeed, the choice of coming up with the idea of giving a meaning to each letter and indeed choose a representative that would indeed encompass that value, it was done because everyone really wanted to pick up a paintbrush and paint, but obviously there would be too many people. So every letter has a meaning. For instance, the I in Italian, the E stands for information, M for magistrate, A for arts, and F because photography in Italian is spelled with a F, and in honor of Letizia Battaglia, has indeed been involved in her career into documenting a lot of the anti-mafia activity. Ci rimane giusto un minutino e volevo chiederti come possono le persone dall'estero, dagli Stati Uniti, chi ascolterà questo programma, come potranno supportarvi in maniera concreta. So I ask for people that might be listening to this program or just that might reside overseas, what can they do to support their mission?
Si può scegliere di viaggiare con noi, di scoprire la Sicilia attraverso i nostri racconti. Si possono trovare dei prodotti Pizzo Free sul sito Addiopizzo Store. Si può soprattutto parlare di noi, che è un modo per farci conoscere, per farci sentire meno soli, ma soprattutto il regalo più grande che ci potete fare è occuparvi della vostra terra, del posto in cui vivete e parlare di mafia. Stare attenti perché anche se le bombe sono qualcosa del passato, la mafia purtroppo non è tramontata e dobbiamo stare attenti. Noi abbiamo la fortuna adesso di poter dire che sì, Capaci è conosciuta per una strage di mafia, ma oggi Capaci è anche conosciuta per la bellezza della sua gente e per quella scritta no mafia. La RAI ha deciso di fare le trasmissioni più importanti proprio da quella collina lì, da quella scritta. Segno che se siamo in tanti le cose possono cambiare.
Mm-hmm. So again, an invitation to everyone to discover Sicily, and this again, talking about the past was to still inject a lot of positivity and to show how things have changed and how beautiful that land is. So you can decide to discover Sicily through their travels, with the supporting any business that doesn't pay the production money, and they have a wonderful website. I will share the links where you can actually get products from olive oils and other wonderful things that are indeed produced by the businesses that do belong to this Addiopizzo circuit. You can also talk about the topic, and this is why we're having this conversation. We have to take care of the country, the land, the place where we live. And again, we just having a conversation is already a very important step. And then associate also Capaci with its own beauty. And the Italian radio station RAI will indeed has chosen that hill to broadcast, to show how many people are indeed involved in this fight. Carissimo Dario, noi saremo, se voi farete delle dirette anche su Facebook, vi seguiremo. Ti ringrazio per il tuo contributo e salutami anche Edoardo e anche gli altri che ancora non conosco. Spero di venire a Capaci conoscervi di persona. Vi auguro veramente un continuo successo e veramente quello che state facendo è molto importante, non soltanto per la Sicilia, ma per tutti noi.
Noi vi ringraziamo perché sentiamo veramente il vostro calore, il vostro supporto, lo sentiamo più vicino di quanto possiate immaginare. Grazie davvero.
Buona serata e buonanotte. Thank you. This was, again, a very insightful conversation with someone that is very young and full of optimism, that has taken what unfortunately has happened of negative, and along with a lot of other young people, turning into something very positive and a nice mission. So we're ready pretty much to move on to our second guest, but before, a little bit of pubblicità. Applying for dual citizenship? Need documents translated? Istituto Mondo Italiano provides certified translation and interpretation services in 20 different languages. Be sure to visit us at www.istitutomondoitaliano.org. Okay, so we are ready for our next guest, and I would love to introduce Michela Musolino. Buonasera, Michela.
Buonasera, ciao Viviana, come stai?
Sto benissimo. I'm so honored to have you as well, because you've been representing Sicilian folk music and traditions. You have been doing this your entire life. I thought this was going to be just a very natural and segue to highlight the beauty of having a positive message and outlook to the beautiful region of Sicily. So for those of you, for our listeners that might hear about you for the first time, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about where when you started. I think I'm going to dig out some details about your childhood. So just a little bit of introduction about yourself for our listeners.
Okay. I am a singer, and I sing, known for singing the folk and roots music of Sicily. So you are right. I work with traditions, especially Sicilian traditions, and I love working with this music. I've worked with it for many years now, and I love to share this music and acquaint people with it. Not just Sicilians. It's wonderful to connect people to their culture, and it's wonderful to reawaken these things in them and connect them to this antiquity. But I like to bring this music also to the general public, because there's a lot that we all share, and it's a great way to unify people too. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience for me. And I take these songs, and some songs I leave them as I find them. I work a lot with field recordings and old fragments of songs. But sometimes I like to continue the journey. Folk music is actually something that's passed from one person to another in the tradition, and these songs would change with each person that would sing them or play them. So I like to maybe put a new spin on some of these songs, or maybe combine it with a different tradition. And I've done many different projects with it. I've combined it with different world music traditions, different Italian music traditions, different traditions from different epochs. And like I said, sometimes I'll just take a song and I'll just leave it as is, because I think that's just the best way to do it. So.
Yes, and someone has kind of defined you as the wild soulfulness of Tina Turner with the earthy yet ethereal voice of Neapolitan songstress Teresa De Sio combined. And by listening to the many recordings that I've seen you, that is just on spot. It's right on. Now, you were born here in the U.S., but you grew up here in the Sicilian dialect. You actually had some sort of keen interest in picking up music every time you had access to, right? To have already a little bit of collection of things in Sicilian.
Of the dialect was the first sounds I ever heard. And my family loved Italian music. So when I would go back to Sicily with my dad, I'd try to find Sicilian music. And I was always trying to figure out where to find it. And at that time, I just didn't really know too much about it. I could buy some tapes and things. That's how long ago I started on this journey. I was buying cassette tapes. And through the years now, it's how life has changed. Through the years now that I make this music, I have a wonderful circle of friends all over the world, especially in Sicily, that are actually folk musicians. So I'm kind of now in the mix, as you say. I'm kind of like living it, which is nice. I don't have to dig so deeply anymore.
Mm-hmm. And also, there is a very unique stage performance, stage presence, that you have, that you portray not only the energy of the music and your vocal cords. And when I was studying up a little bit, it looks like you have a strong background also as an actress, and specifically in Commedia dell'arte. That's fantastic.
Yes, yes. That's actually one of my most favorite things. I had the opportunity to study with two wonderful teachers from Rome, Lidia Biondi and Enzo Ronica. And it just is a wonderful training. And if for anyone that wants to be a performer, I would always recommend to study Commedia dell'arte because it is just such a seminal kind of training. It covers everything, whether you want to work with comedy or whether you want to work with drama. It's theater. It's the history of theater. So it's a beautiful, beautiful training.
And then you have played, numerous times in Sicily for very special events and concerts in commemoration of, in memoriam of Pino Veneziano.
Yes.
And so can you tell us, so if people are not familiar with Sicilian folk traditions, is there an instrument or is there a beat? Is there something that maybe you can share with us that can put us in that mode? Like, for instance, I don't know if you had it, but at least, tell us about what are the most common instruments that you see being played or being part of this Sicilian folk tradition. And then, I don't know if you want to hum something. We're ready for you.
Okay. Well, the most germane or the most important instrument would be the tamburo, the frame drum. And that is, it's an instrument that goes back to antiquity, and it was in the realm of the women, actually, when the women were would conduct the religious rituals, and it sprung up through the centuries eventually as an instrument that's played. But when everybody made music, women drummed. And my grandma, when she immigrated to the U.S., the one thing she brought with her was a drum.
Oh, really?
And when I first started to study this music, and I started delving into it and taking lessons and working with theater companies, I was telling my dad, I went to go visit my dad, and I said, I'm learning how to play the frame drum. And he said, well, you should learn, because that's your tradition. That's what women do. And I didn't understand what he was saying until the more I studied it, I understood that, the women were guiding, were the first ones to drum, and they were guiding the religious aspect of the performance, and that's when, again, my dad eventually revealed that my grandma used to play. So what I'll do is, a very famous rhythm on the drum would be the tarantella rhythm, the triplet, and what I can do is I can sing a little song and play the drum. I'll put my phone down and see how it works. I hope it sounds okay. I don't have an elaborate.
It is still good. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll try it.
We just want to hear more of it. We are ready to dance along with you. Can you tell us a bit, maybe also the lines, the lyrics that you, I think I heard about something innamorata, but the Sicilian...
Yeah, it's, what I just played was just a filastrocca, just a children's, like a nursery rhyme, but it's like a sing-song, and it's a little story, and my sister, I made you a beautiful gown out of silk. I made you this beautiful dress out of silk. But my sister, she's just not in love with anybody. So we kind of made this gown for somebody to get married, but she's she's not in love with anybody.
She's not in love.
And the song goes on and on about different things like that. And at the end, the last line of the song is, I'm lovesick. Everybody thought I was not well, but it turns out I was just lovesick. And so it's all these little vignettes about falling in love. And that's one of the reasons why I love this music so much, is because there's all these nice little stories. Every song is a story, really. And it talks about these wonderful human emotions that we all experience and we all go through. So it's very relatable music. It's music that really reaches in and touches your soul.
In talking about touching your soul, some of the most memorable performances that maybe you got to be part of, whether it was maybe in Sicily or somewhere else in Italy or somewhere else where you brought indeed all this Sicilian tradition, either with other musicians, or maybe, I don't want to say you were the novelty, but something that maybe they hadn't heard of. Tell us about, again, a memorable concert or experience.
Wow. For me,
so many, right?
For me, because you talked about Sicily, what I would have to say is going back and forth to the L'Evento in Memoria di Pino Veneziano, which is a cultural festival dedicated to the singers from the cantautore Pino Veneziano. It always takes place in the temples in Salinunte. And I kind of became identified with this song that Pino Veneziano wrote called A Santo, dedicated to Santo Graziano, who's a friend of Pino Veneziano, and the gist of the song was that he's a man that is very loving. Santo is a blind man. He's very loving, and he knows the way, but even though he's blind, he can find the way. He knows the way in the world because the way is love. And it was a testament to the friendship of this wonderful person, Santo. And I had sung the song one year, and somebody took a video, and it became kind of went, but not that viral, but a little viral. And I eventually was invited to sing the song on a compilation album in honor of Pino Veneziano, and I sang the song for many years. And I was finally, one year, I went back to Sicily, and I gave a concert in the Castello Normanno a Salerno, and the actual Santo Graziano, the person that the song was written about, he brought his family, brought his wife and his children to the concert, and I got to sing the song finally for him, and that was very emotional.
I can imagine having the honor. And you have moved quite a bit. You also were in Vermont for a few years, and so you narrated and sang in Sicilian and Southern Italian folk music, and you told the history about the Briganti of Southern Italy.
Wow, how'd you find that? You did some digging. Yes, I have a beautiful show. It's and it's dedicated to Briganti, and who were the freedom fighters of Southern Italy after the Unification. They fought for the king. They fought to remain Southern Italian. And what I do is I tell their story, I narrate their story, but I illustrate every point in the story with a folk song. And some of the songs are traditional, some of the songs are contemporary. So it's a little theatrical piece, and I haven't done it in a while, and I would love to have the chance to do it again, because it's a very moving piece, and it is a tribute to these freedom fighters.
Maybe we'll talk about it afterwards. And so okay. Some of the project that you've been, obviously the last 2 years, a lot of people were able to still share their art and their craft online. Was that the case for you as well?
Yeah, we didn't really have much of a choice, so we started doing things online, and I'm always a big fan of, blossom where you're planted. So I was doing concerts in my backyard, and then some venues that we had performed at in the past would ask us, could you do an online show for us? And most recently, the Queens Public Library in New York is still, even though they're back to live programming, they found that they like to have the online, so they're doing both. So I've been doing some shows for them, and I actually just did a spring concert. It was the day before Easter, because I moved to Memphis recently. So now I have a band here in Memphis as well. I have my New York band. I have a band in Memphis. So it was another project, but it's always with this beloved Sicilian music or some kind of outgrowth, because what I'm doing now, too, is I'm showing the connection, the beautiful musical connection between Sicily and the U.S. So it's ever evolving. ever evolving.
And some of the instruments, in addition to having your group bagpipes.
Yeah, we have a zampognato in the band, and that is a wonderful tradition because we have when you have the tradition, the music from the mountains, from the montagne. The pastore were always they would play the bagpipes. It's another pastoral instrument, like the drum. These are instruments that people made to pass the time. And they all come from the animal skin and the trees. So they're very, very organic and very natural.
One of the excuse me. One of the latest videos that I was watching YouTube was actually a collaboration with the Sicilian DJ Raf. That was a mix of talents there. It was so entertaining. And so how was that experience?
It's wonderful because he takes this, he'll take my song. Well, the one you might have seen, I think it might have been an Italian pop tune that we remixed, but we've done work with the song Mi Volto, Mi Rivolto, and that was also up for Grammy consideration. And he's put like a house mix with it. He's got this amazing vision. He's from Sicily, he's from Palermo, and he's got this fantastic vision of exposing people to this folk music by modern means. And he's all about, disco music and house music and club music. So he recreates these songs. And we just actually were in New York City last week. We're filming a video for a new release that's coming out. And it's a beautiful, beautiful Sicilian folk song, a real Sicilian folk song, truly an old tradition. And it's been re-elaborated with a world music sound and an amazing group of musicians. So when that comes out, I'm going to send that to you. It's going to be really, really a nice surprise. And wait till you see the video.
Thank you.
Wait till you see the video.
So if people want to know about all your discography, all the information, your website has a wealth of information, and the pictures are so beautiful. So,
thank you.
From the dances and the dance. So, can you, because some of the titles, of the songs might be in Sicilian, I don't want to do any disfavor. So, do you want to talk a little more about the actual names and of the?
On the songs. Typically what I do is I just read, as I said, I read the songs as I find them. So, for example, we have, let's sing the song Palomeggia. And Palomeggia is a little dove, Paloma in Italian, Palomeggia in Sicilian. There's a song, Olina Lina, which I love. It comes from, it's a Chaialoma, which is a Sicilian tuna fisherman's chant, that they would sing these songs when they needed to work in unison to raise the nets. So you can listen to Olina Lina. And the reason why I love that song is because it's the same name as my daughter. My daughter's name is Lina, so I love that song. But we have a song too, Avirineggia, and I even have a video about that. And Avirineggia, it's a love song, but the title of the song is Virineggia, which means drill, trapano in Italian, right? But Virineggia in dialect, in Sicilian dialect. And even though the song has these beautiful images in it, like the lover tells his beloved, when you smile, when you walk by, all the heavenly spheres smile, all the planets and stars smile. But at one point in the song, he says, I wish I could buy a drill so I could make a hole in your door, and at night I could watch you. So there's a lot of contrast in these songs too. But trying to think some other songs, we have Canto a Timoni, which is a song of the houseman, Timoni, Timoniere, not in Italian, Timoni in dialect. When I perform, when I sing the songs, I'm kind of a bit of a storyteller too, because I set the songs up and I introduce a little bit of the stories behind the song and the history. So people get drawn in and they feel already familiar with the song if they don't know it yet.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. So, talking about something else that I just remembered, you also lend your voice to a movie. This is a close story to the conversation we had before, because this was the life of the Anti-Mafia activist Felicia Bartolotta Impastato, who was Peppino's mother, and so you got to do also this experience. How was it?
Yes. it was truly a wonderful experience because all I did, the director of that film is a documentary, and the film is actually the last interview that Felicia gave in her lifetime. It was an interview with Felicia and Giovanni, her other son, who has continued the work of Peppino. And all I did was, the director asked me, can I use your music? I said, yeah, sure. So I had already recorded this music. But what happened was, because I was associated with the film, I toured with the film. And at one point in the tour, Giovanni Impastato was here in the U.S., and we did a series of conferences together, and I got to meet him and got to know him and know all about, learn about his work. So it's, as Dario had said, it's an honor to be part of this. It's an honor to be part of this battle. And it's a battle that is being won, and that's what's so wonderful about it. It's not an easy battle, but it is winnable. And it felt, I feel Sicily has given me so much. It felt like I was able to do something for Sicily. Going back to the L'Evento in Memoria di Pino Veneziano in Salonite, in fact, one of the years, the edition of the festival was Manifestazione contro la Mafia. So it was a tremendous amount of journalists, and there were even people there from the Centro Impastato to raise awareness. Like Dario had said, you have to talk about it. You have to put it in front of people and let them know what's going on. So anytime that I can help out this way, I'm honored to do something for La Sicilia. It's always
so with
un dovere,
un dovere, exactly. We all have the duty. Well, Michela, this has been a pleasant conversation, and I thank you very much also for taking us a little bit into the sounds of the Sicilian folk music. We'll be posting links for people to follow you, listen to you, and as you close usually your emails, cusuzze bed.
That's great.
I'm picking up. So thank you very much. And again, I will be in touch. I can't wait to for the CD.
Okay.
Bye-bye. So our time has already come up. Il Big Ben ha detto stop. And it's indeed time for us to say arrivederci e alla prossima. We want to thank you for listening. And if you have any questions or comments, please contact us at theitalianradiohour@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And next week, our guest will be Italian famous, the Queen of Tagliatelle, Rina Poletti, and author Antonella Iaschi from Emilia-Romagna, and I will discuss how pasta and poetry can build a better future for all of us. Remember, if you or any of your family and friends have missed a prior episode or would like to listen to this episode again, please visit our website at www.istitutomondoitaliano.org and click on the Italian Radio Hour tab. Vorremmo ringraziare i nostri ospiti Dario Riccobono e Michela Musolino, il nostro sponsor Istituto Mondo Italiano e alla Boara per la Musica. Finally, before we leave, here is our trivia question for next week. What does non c'è due senza tre mean? Again, what does non c'è due senza tre mean? You can send us your answers at theitalianradiohour@gmail.com. If you're not in the Pittsburgh area, or might be traveling, remember you can catch us streaming live at khbradio.com every Thursday at 5 o'clock. And be sure to like us on Instagram and Facebook at Italian Radio Hour. Until next time, alla prossima, ciao ciao!
Ci sta cenogaro fula dormo e culirami con moja la via
The Italian Radio Hour has been sponsored by Istituto Mondo Italiano.